Assalamu alaikum. Today we will continue our discussion about the hand. In the last topic we are talking about the skeleton and bone of the hand, and today we will proceed with soft tissues of the hand. To start with, we will start with palmar aspect of the hand, and we will start with skin of the palm of the hand. Skin of the palm of the hand is thick and hairless, with sweat gland present in large number. Sensory nerve supply to the skin of the palm of the hand is derived from two main nerves. These are the median nerve, which is responsible for the supply of the skin over the lateral 2/3 of the palm of the hand. The second nerve is the ulnar nerve, which supplies the skin over the medial 1/3 of the palm of the hand. Next to the skin is the aponeurosis of the palm of the hand, which called palmar aponeurosis. It is triangular in shape, occupies central part of the palm of the hand. Since it is triangular in shape, so it has apex, which is attached to the distal border of the flexor retinaculum and receive the insertion of a muscle called palmaris longus. It has base, which is divided at the bases of the finger into 4 slips, 4 divisions to the root of the fingers, and they will fuse with fibrous flexor sheath of the fingers. This is shape of palmar aponeurosis. This is the apex and this is the base. You see the base split into 4 divisions, which will fuse with the fibrous flexor sheath of the fingers. Medial and lateral border of the palmar aponeurosis are continuous with the deep fascia covering the hypothenor and thenar muscles. Hypothenor muscle, these are the muscle which act on the little finger, and it forms the medial part of the palm of the hand, whereas the thenar muscle, these are muscles that act on the thumb, and they form the lateral part of the palm of the hand. From each of these borders, fibrous septa passes posteriorly into the palm and take part in the formation of palmar fascial spaces. Function of the palmar aponeurosis: it gives firm attachment to the overlying skin and improve grip of the hand and protect underlying tendons. Fibrous flexor sheath: the anterior surface of each finger from the head of the metacarpal bone to the base of the distal phalanx is provided by a strong fibrous sheath called fibrous flexor sheath, which attach to the side of the phalanges, and its proximal end of the sheath is open whereas the distal end of the sheath is closed and it is attached to the base of the distal phalanx. The sheath and the bones form some sort of blind tunnel in which the flexor tendon of the finger lies. Here, this figure shows fibrous flexor sheath of the fingers. This is greenish in color. It has two ends, a proximal end, which is open end, distal end, which is a fixed end or closed end. Laterally, the fibrous flexor sheath is attached to the bone of the phalanx, and by this, it will form some sort of a blind tunnel. Synovial flexor sheaths. The tendons of the flexor digitorum superficialis muscle and profundus muscle invaginated or surrounded by a common synovial sheath from the lateral sides, and the medial part of this common sheath extend distally without interruption on the tendon of the little finger, the distal end of the long flexor tendon of the index finger, and the middle and the ring fingers, which will acquire digital synovial sheath as they enter into the fingers. Whereas the flexor pollicis longus tendon has its own synovial sheath. The synovial sheath of the flexor pollicis longus is referred to as radial bursa, whereas the sheath of the superficialis and profundus is referred as ulnar bursa. You can see in this figure, these are the long flexor tendons. You can see it. And in this bluish in color membrane, which is the synovial flexor sheath, which is a synovial membrane surrounding the tendon of the long flexor muscles. Its main function is to secrete synovial fluid to lubricate these tendons during their actions. And you can see it is formed of two parts, a medial part which called ulnar bursa, whereas a lateral part for the flexor pollicis longus muscle tendon, it is referred as radial bursa. Insertion of the long flexor tendons. An important note that long flexor tendon, it refers to the tendon of the flexor muscles to the medial four fingers, which means the tendon of the flexor digitorum superficialis muscle and the tendons of the flexor digitorum profundus muscle, and the flexor tendon of the muscles of the thumb, which means flexor pollicis longus muscles. Each tendon of the flexor digitorum superficialis muscle enter the fibrous flexor sheath opposite to the proximal phalanx, and they will divide it into two halves, which will pass around the profundus tendon to be attached to the border of the middle phalanx. And each tendon of the flexor digitorum profundus, having passed through the division of superficialis tendon, and they will insert it finally into the base of the distal phalanx. This description is applied to the medial four fingers. Small muscles of the hand. And this term include the 4 lumbrical muscles, the 8 interossi muscles, short muscles of the thumb, which are abductor pollicis brevis, flexor pollicis brevis, opponens pollicis. These 3 muscles, they are known as thenar eminence muscle group. And a 4th small muscle that act on the thumb is called adductor pollicis muscle. In addition to this group, the other group is short muscle of the little finger, which means abductor digiti minimi, flexor digiti minimi brevis muscle, and opponens digiti minimi muscle. These 3 muscles, they have another name, hypothenar eminence muscle. An important notes, these small muscles of the hand, it means that these muscles, they have their origin within the hand and their insertion within the hand or into the fingers of the hand. And this to differentiate these muscles from the long flexor muscles, which means flexor digitorum profundus, flexor digitorum superficialis, and flexor pollicis longus muscles, which have their origin in the forearm, but their insertion into the fingers. Arteries that lies within the palm of the hand. 2 main artery. One is called ulnar artery. It enters the hand anterior to the flexor retinaculum on the lateral side of the ulnar nerve and pisiform bone. The artery gives off a deep branch and then continue into the palm as a superficial palmar arch. Deep branch of ulnar artery, it arises in front of the flexor retinaculum, passes between abductor digiti minimi and flexor digiti minimi muscle, and joins the artery of the lateral side of the palm of the hand, which is the radial artery, to complete deep palmar arch. Superficial palmar arch is a direct continuation of the ulnar artery on entering the palm of the hand, and it curves laterally behind palmar aponeurosis in front of long flexor tendon. The arch is completed on its lateral side by one of the branches of the radial artery, and from the curve of the arch lies across the palm 4 digital arteries arises. From the convexity of the arch passes to the fingers. This figure, you can see this is the ulnar artery, gives here its deep branch, and it continue within the palm of the hand as a superficial palmar arch. You can see from the convexity of the superficial palmar arch, these are 4 digital branches arises. They will supply the fingers. And also you can see that the superficial palmar arch on its lateral side, it continuity is maintained by a branch of radial artery. You can see this. Second artery in the palm of the hand is the radial artery. Radial artery, it leaves the dorsum of the hand by turning forwards between the proximal end of the first and second metacarpal bone and the two heads of the first dorsal interosseous muscle. On entering the palm of the hand, it curves medially between the oblique and transverse head of the adductor pollicis muscle and continues as deep palmar arch. Deep palmar arch is a direct continuation of the radial artery. It curves medially beneath the long flexor tendon and in front of the metacarpal bone and the interosseous muscle. The arch is completed on the medial side by the deep branch of the ulnar artery. The palmar arch sends branches superiorly which take part in the anastomosis around the wrist joint, inferiorly to join the digital branches of the superficial palmar arch. Branches from the radial artery. Immediately on entering the palm of the hand, the radial artery gives off two branches. One is called arteria radialis indicis. It supplies the sides of the index finger. Second branch is called arteria princeps pollicis, which it divides into two branches which supplies the size of the thumb. In this figure you can see this is the radial artery and it enters into the palm of the hand forming the deep palmar arch, and on its medial side continuity is maintained by a branch of the ulnar artery, which is the deeper branch of the ulnar artery. Nerves of the palm of the hand. Two important nerves responsible for nerve supply of the hand. First important nerve is the median nerve. The median nerve enters the palm of the hand by passing behind the flexor retinaculum and through the carpal tunnel. Here it immediately divides into lateral and medial branches. Muscular branch of the median nerve. It supplies the muscle of the thinner eminence, which means abductor pollicis brevis, flexor pollicis brevis, and opponens pollicis, and the first two lumbrical muscle. It has a cutaneous branch which supplies palmar aspect of the lateral 3.5 fingers. It has a palmar cutaneous branch which gives off in front of the forearm and goes anterior to the flexor retinaculum, supplies the skin over the lateral 2/3 of the palm of the hand. Second important nerve, which is responsible for the nerve supply in the palm of the hand, is ulnar nerve. It enters the palm of the hand anterior to the flexor retinaculum, alongside of the lateral border of the pisiform bone. As it crosses the retinaculum, it is divided into superficial and deep terminal branch. Superficial branch of the ulnar nerve, it descends into the palm of the hand, lying in the subcutaneous tissue between the pisiform bone and hook of Hammett. The ulnar artery lies on its lateral side. It has muscular branch to the palmaris brevis muscle. It has cutaneous branch, supplies the palmar aspect of the medial side of the little finger and the adjacent sides of the little and the ring finger. In another name, it supplies the medial 1.5 finger. Deep branch of the ulnar nerve runs backward between the abductor digiti minimi and flexor digiti minimi. It pierces opponens digiti minimi, winds around the lower border of the hook of Hammett, and passes laterally within the concavity of the deep palmar arch. The nerve lies behind the flexor tendon and in front of the metacarpal bone and interosseous muscles. Branches from deep branch of ulnar nerve, they are muscular branches to the 3 muscle of the hypothenar eminence. It supplies all the palmar and dorsal interossi, the 3rd and 4th lumbrical muscle, both head of the adductor pollicis muscles. Palmar cutaneous branch of the ulnar nerve given off in the front of the forearm, crosses anterior to the flexor retinaculum and supplies the skin over the medial third of the palm of the hand. For summarization, ulnar nerve in the hand, it has 2 important innervation. First innervation, cutaneous innervation to the skin of the palm of the hand. It is responsible for supplying medial 1/3 of the palm of the hand, medial 1/3 of the skin of the palm of the hand, and medial 1.5 finger skin over the medial and 1.5 fingers. Second things, the ulnar nerve supplies small muscles of the hands, and the ulnar nerve supply all the small muscles of the hand except muscles of the thinner eminence and the first 2 lumbricals, which are supplied by the median nerve. Regarding the median nerve, as a general rule, the median nerve, it has 2 functions in innervation of the hand. First, sensory innervation or cutaneous innervation. It supplies the skin over the lateral 2/3 of the palm of the hand, in addition to the skin over the lateral 3.5 fingers. Regarding the muscular supply, it supplies the thinner eminence muscle and the first 2 lumbricals. Another topic is facial spaces of the palm of the hand. Triangular palmar aponeurosis fans out from the lower border of the flexor retinaculum. From its medial border, a fibrous septum passes backward and is attached to the anterior border of the fifth metacarpal bone. Medial to this septum is a facial compartment containing 3 hypothenar muscles. From the lateral border of the palmar aponeurosis, a second fibrous septum passes obliquely backward into the anterior border of the third metacarpal bone. The septum passes between the long flexor tendon of the index and middle finger. This second septum divides the palm into thinner space which lies lateral to the septum and mid-palmar space which lies medial to the septum. Proximally, the thinner and mid-palmar spaces are closed off from the forearm by the walls of the carpal tunnel. The thinner space containing the first lumbrical muscle and lies posterior to the long flexor tendon to the index finger and in front of adductor pollicis muscle. The mid-palmar space containing second, third, and fourth lumbrical muscle and lies posterior to the long flexor tendon to the middle ring and little fingers. Thank you.